Hello and welcome to week 5 of Introduction to Healthcare and Business Analytics. This is a re-recording of my lecture for this week because I found out that for reasons passing understanding, the audio on the previous piece that I did not come through. So this will be my second attempt at that. So thank you all for hanging in there on that. So I want to talk about, we've been talking about use cases in healthcare and business analytics, and I'm going to do a little bit of a review as to how use cases are put together, and then we'll dive into 3 example use cases in healthcare analytics. One dealing with actuarial analytics, which is in the health insurance area. Another dealing with marketing analytics, which can be applied to really any business or organization. And another dealing with patient safety and patient outcomes, which also can be applied to a standard business setting in terms of workplace safety and employee safety and the like. And we'll go into our weekly discussion item. So just a quick review for use cases in healthcare and business. So a use case is a description of how someone who's going to use a process is actually going to accomplish a goal. It is designed to help you understand where errors could occur and what process or design features you're going to introduce to reduce those errors. And it also is a way to specify, in the case of analytics, you specify your primary research question. What is the problem that you're actually trying to solve, and what is the needle that you're trying to move? So the elements of a good use case: first of all, a link to a strategic goal. Why are you doing this? Why is it important? What are your measures of success, KPIs? These get to the key data elements that you're trying to measure and the key data elements that you're trying to either move up or move down depending on what you're trying to change. Who is the owner of the use case? Who are the users and data customers? What is the data that you're going to be required to use for it? How is the data going to be governed and managed? How do you deal? Are you dealing with data where there may be some sensitive access issues, some patient privacy issues? How are you going to manage all those things? What is your data analysis process? How are you going to get to a finish line on that? What is the technology that you're going to be using for this use case? Do you have the appropriate skills and capacity within your team and your organization to be able to effectively deal with this use case? And how do you deal with this from an implementation and change management perspective if you're going to be rolling out new changes or changing workflows or issuing reports or anything of that kind? So in terms of a link to a strategic goal, it has to tie to an organizational objective. You have to be able to identify your goal in detail and identify the questions you need to answer. In terms of measures of success, what are the needles that you're looking to move? For example, customer satisfaction data. If you're going to have changes in call wait times for people to get in to speak to you, is that going to have a positive or negative impact on things such as customer satisfaction or net promoter score? Use case owner: who is responsible for this use case? If no one's responsible for it, it's not going to get done. Same as any other major project. The person has to be somebody who is visible and someone who can be accountable for it. The users and data customers: who will be using the data and learning from its insights. What are the different skill levels of the users involved? Are you providing data for casual users, people who may be looking at the data occasionally, but you need to give them a lot of hand-holding? Or are you providing data for super users who have a high level of data skills and also a high level of subject matter expertise? Or are you providing data for subject matter experts themselves? These are people who have a great deal of in-depth knowledge in the business area that you're reporting on, and they may consider to be super users in those areas, but perhaps casual users in others. So, and all of this is around this particular data architecture, dealing with essentially the back-end systems feeding into a staging area, loading into a ETL or extract, transform, and load layer, and then being delivered to your end users for your different reporting, analysis, or alert activities. And what is the required data? So is it going to be structured data? Is it going to be unstructured data? Is it going to be data that you own? Is it going to be data you have to match to? You have issues with false positive and negative matches. You have issues with timing. You may have different data elements being updated in different cadences, which is going to cause some data quality issues or some potential reporting issues that you're going to need to be aware of, and there may require some explanations or footnotes in some of the reports that you're actually generating. Data governance, as I mentioned earlier, data that you provide has to be governed. Data definitions have to be managed. Data has to be owned. Do you have data that requires consent for it to be used, such as patient record data or socioeconomic data? That data usually requires some degree of control and management. You can't just give it out to everybody in the organization. Data quality, you need to ensure data quality at each stage of the process. You need to understand if there are areas where your data may be developing issues, you need to be able to understand and address that. There may be some situations where you're not going to get 100% data quality because there's just simply noise in the system. You need to be able to understand that and be able to speak to that. What's your data analysis plan? How are you going to turn your data into insights? And this is where we talk about the different types of analytics that are best suited, whether it be descriptive analytics, looking backwards in terms of reports, whether it be diagnostic analytics, such as dashboards, which will allow you for some rudimentary drill down capabilities. Is it going to be predictive or prescriptive analytics, such as possibly predicting future events, for which you are going to want to have some type of a response, possibly a very short-term response? Or is it cognitive analytics where you're having machine learning kick in and you're having some recommendations given to you in terms of different wheels that have to be turned? And how is it going to be delivered? What is your technology stack? Do you have the correct amount of technology? Is it buildable? Is it scalable? Will it be able to respond to what you're doing not only for this iteration but for subsequent iterations? Do you have adequate resources in terms of the appropriate hardware and software and networking throughput to make this be able to happen? Skills and capacity. Do you have the in-house skills to make this happen? You may want to roll out predictive analytics, but if you don't have folks on your staff or available to you who understand statistical modeling, that's going to be more difficult to do. If it's a model or a risk score that you have to create that has not currently been created. So you need to understand your skills. You need to be very brutally honest in terms of your level of skill to be able to effectively deliver on one of these projects. And finally, implementation and change management. What are the main challenges to execute in the report? What are the potential roadblocks? These are the same types of things you'll ask in any project you may want to manage. And do you have the tools to be able to help individuals and teams make the kinds of organizational change that may need to be made, depending on what this data may be telling you? So let's go into, and with that table setting out of the way, let's go into three major use cases for analytics that I do want to be able to dive into. The first is actuarial analytics in health insurance. So what is all of that? People, those of you who are in the healthcare field may have all either worked for or worked with health insurance companies. You all are customers of insurance companies in some way through various plans that you have. How does all that work, and why is actuarial analytics important for these organizations? So actuarial analytics is used by largely financial firms and insurance companies, and this is dealing with understanding and evaluating and putting real numbers on risks for different people. So what is it? So for an insurance company, for example, an insurance company charges a premium for people who buy their services. So you have, say, 1,000 people buying into a health insurance plan, and say for the sake of argument, you take from those 1,000 people, you take in $100,000 over the course of a year. What is your estimate for how much you're going to have to pay out in healthcare benefits for that same 100,000 people? If you end up having to pay $95,000 for that $100,000 worth of premiums, the insurance company will work out okay because they'll be paying out less than they're taking in. On the other hand, if you end up if your estimates are wrong and that same risk pool incurs $110,000 in claims, then you're going to be in a deficit situation, which will have to be dealt with. So these are. So the key element here is, are the premiums being charged sufficient to cover the expected demand in services and benefits that you are paying out for? So there are many KPIs and measures of success, but I want to talk about four here. First is persistency ratio. So this is how many of your policies are getting timely premium payments. So this basically tells you how long your customers have been staying with you. How long your customers stay with you is a very important element, because if in terms of predicting how much they're going to be able to need, because more data is better in this situation. If I have people on my plan who have been with me for 5-10 years, and I have a good idea as to what their claims patterns are, I have a pretty good idea of how I have a much firmer idea of how to price and risk adjust my premiums, as opposed to if I have members who are coming in and out, and you have a high transient situation where people are you don't know what they may be doing based upon any kind of history, and you have to go based on other kind of profile information to be able to do that. Loss ratio. This provides companies with a high-level overview of their financial performance. If you underestimate the risk profiles for your client, you have a higher loss ratio, and a higher loss ratio is a bad thing to be in. Claims triangles. This is essentially what happens is in an insurance situation, you have somebody say you go to a doctor's office, and they do a office visit and a few other things. They submit a form to your insurance company, which is a bill for services. This form is called a CMS 1500 if you're a outpatient physician, and that form then gets sent to the insurance company, and there is a period of time between when the form is submitted and when the claim is paid. That is called claim lag. Now, some claims get paid relatively quickly. Some claims get paid after there may be a lot of back and forth, especially if you have some claims that are more that require more review than others. So there is always going to be some amount of claims that haven't been paid yet. And the claims triangulation is the process of understanding what the outstanding claims are based upon the age of those claims, and will give an insurance company an idea of how much financial reserves it has to carry to be able to meet those claims responsibilities. And solvency ratio. So this is also known as a leverage ratio. So a lower solvency ratio indicates a greater financial risk. It's kind of a flip of the loss ratio. Now, who are the owners and customers? The owner with this would be the head of actuary for an insurance company. Could also be the head of finance, and the customers include the CFO, any of the product management staff, certainly any of the senior leadership within the health insurance company, and also anyone with any kind of regulatory management responsibilities. If you're dealing with a health insurance company, for example, the rates are often have to be approved by some type of a state agency, such as a rate setting commission and the like. And so you may be asked to defend a rate increase based upon that actuarial information. The data that you have, what is the required data? You need your membership eligibility data. You need your claims data, whether it be your physician claims, your hospital claims, your pharmacy claims, any of that information, your health exchange data, any of your financial data is important for this. Your data governance process. Data quality and timeliness of data is critical, and risk of security breaches and privacy violations are also critical. You're dealing with HIPAA data here, and it is very important that this data be guarded appropriately. Process and technology. In terms of your process, you'll be using predictive modeling to create risk scores, which will describe a member's potential financial risk. And then you want to create a data mart, which includes daily extracts from those source systems, and then be able to produce either reports or projections based upon what different benefit packages may do to different loss and persistency ratios, and also different types of claims triangles. In terms of technology, you're dealing with claims and eligibility data feed, EMR data from participating providers, and statistical software and report systems. From skills and capacity, you need good statistical modeling background. You need folks who understand actuarial science. You need folks who understand predictive modeling and data management and analytics, and generally a good solid subject matter expertise. In terms of implementation and change management, any definitions you have should be reviewed at least once a year, and certainly reviewed when if new products or services are added within that insurance company. So the next use case I want to talk about, actuarial analytics is a very complicated use case. The next one I'm going to do is going to be quite a bit of a left turn. This is marketing. And marketing has enormous needs for data and analytics, and this is a use case which applies really across the board. If you're doing any kind of marketing activity, and health insurance companies run marketing campaigns too, just like anybody else does. Or you could be a business which is selling services, but a business which is selling products, and you're doing marketing campaigns, and you want to be able to see if how you are doing in those areas. So marketing analysis gives you an idea of how your initiatives are performing. You want to gather all your data from your sources and channels and determine what is your appropriate return on investment for those marketing activities. And metrics play a very critical role in this. But marketing metrics and analytics are two different things. Metrics refer to your data points, and analytics put the data into context to show you how your marketing efforts can translate to revenue. As I mentioned, 4 KPIs with actuarial analytics. Here are some KPIs with respect to marketing. Customer acquisition cost. This is a very key element. What is a customer worth to me? How much does it cost me to acquire a customer? If you look at, and then you compare that to a customer lifetime value, how much revenue can you expect over the life of a given customer? It is always much easier to upsell or to repeat sell into existing customers than it is to try and get new ones. So you want to be sure that you have a good lifetime customer value. Also, you don't want your acquisition costs to be a significant percentage of your lifetime customer value. Otherwise, those customers aren't worth as much to you. Traffic to lead ratio. So this involves tracking new leads on your website and understanding where they are coming from. Is the lead generations that are going to your website, are they actually giving you qualified leads, or are these people just kind of coming in and going away and you never see them, and they're not whatever you're providing, they're just not interested in for some reason. Landing page conversion rates. This gets into your digital marketing. How effective is your digital marketing? Pages which attract new additional hits but no actual customers are really of very little value to you. Who are your owners and customers? Your owners could be the head of marketing, and also your senior leadership. The CEO, the board would be very interested in all of this. Your customers include your senior leadership, your sales and marketing, perhaps any of your customer service folks, any of your web design folks, if you're involved in digital marketing. So those would be the kinds of customers that you would have. The data would be, you would be looking for digital marketing data out of your customer relationship management or CRM systems, such as Salesforce or a GitHub or anything of that kind, or Entreport or whatever it might be, and any of your sales data systems. And in terms of data governance, your quality and timeliness of the data is also critical, and poorly defined privacy policies here can also drive prospective customers away. So if you're working on leads and you want people to sign up with you, you need to be very clear as to what you're going to be doing with their data, because people can be very reluctant to give you even the most basic of information if they don't feel they can trust you. And as you're at the higher end of that funnel, as it's moving down, people trust you less. So you need to be really careful from a governance and privacy perspective in terms of describing what you'll be doing and how you'll be doing it. Processing and technology. Your data analysis and technology are really quite similar to the other use case we were talking about. You'll be developing a data mart, which includes extracts from your source systems, creating your different push and pull reports. And from a technology perspective, you'll want statistical management software. You want a good solid set of ETL tools and end user reporting systems. Now, the people component is, do you have the data management and analytics expertise? Do you have the benchmarking expertise? If you're running any of these KPIs, you need to understand what is good, what is not, and you need to have good subject matter expertise. From a change management perspective, you need to understand what your end states are, and if you're going to be doing any kind of changes to workflows or any kind of changes to your campaigns. It is possible, based upon the information that you get, you may find that you may want to either perhaps remove web pages from your campaigns if things are are too cumbersome for people, or you may wish to do other things to streamline things that people are leaving you for whatever reason, or do something else to change your messaging. But whatever you change, you have to monitor it and see that it actually met your expectations on all of that. So here's the third use case I want to talk about. This is more of a healthcare use case, but it can be applicable to any business dealing with any kind of workplace safety issues or anything like that. And this is patient safety and health outcomes. Now, patient safety and adverse events is a major threat to quality of care, to healthcare costs, and to health providers' future stability and viability. I was reading recently that approximately 1/3 of that medical errors are actually now the third leading cause of death in the United States. So being able to adapt to and respond to those is very, very critical across the healthcare system. And AI and predictive analytics have made a difference through many injuries, and they have they've been able to really improve outcomes and drive improvement in many areas. So let's look at some patient safety innovations. You can be leveraging your EHR, dealing with antibiotic stewardship, getting that into the hands of people who are responsible for it. Rolling out machine learning to identify and treat sepsis earlier, so that you can catch it, because that can be a very, very bad situation to get into. There have been some situations of people actually using robots in working with patients and acting in kind of a sitter relationship, and then dealing with artificial intelligence to detect a patient's. Yes, and the rate of healthcare acquired infections per patient is also an important metric to track over time, because any kind of deterioration in that could also indicate a deterioration in the general conditions or quality of care in the hospital or healthcare institution. So who are the owners and customers? The use case owner of this would be the head patient safety officer or the chief medical and informatics officer. Those people would have a tremendous interest in being able to pursue this particular use case. The customers would be the case management staff, the nurse staff. Yes, my wife's ringtone is esteemed for Mission Impossible. Sorry about that. So the use case owner would be the patient safety officer, chief medical and informatics officer. The customers would be the case management staff, the nursing staff, the senior leadership, regulatory organizations that might be available within a state or local community, as well as the Joint Commission, CMS, any of those other organizations. And the data that would be required for this would be your EMR data, your patient experience data, your claims data, your ATT, which stands for admit, discharge, and transfer data. Any of these data elements which may be used to flag a patient stay and a service is being given within for the different patients. In terms of data governance, the data quality and timeliness of the data is of course critical. Your ability to create effective risk scores and be able to act on those risk scores is very critical. And the health risks have to get to the healthcare staff with the steps needed to be able to protect against improper disclosures. So there are certainly issues around patient privacy and around patient access here. In terms of your processing and technology for data analysis, you'll begin dealing with different feeds going into a data mart for a reporting layer. Your technology would be any of your data management, statistical management software for risk scoring purposes, and any of your end user reporting systems. In terms of skills and capacity, you need to have access to folks with good background in data management and analytics. Also, any of the business unit and data steward activities that would be needed within the patient care areas. You need good report development, subject matter expertise in those areas, and you need to create a scenario where you are. This is an area where you definitely need to be able to support push reports or alerts that go to different people if you have situations which are developing, which may require urgent attention by the care management or nursing staff on a certain in a certain facility or on a certain floor. So that is essentially the 3 use cases that I did want to go over. Now, there's also a TED Talk I want you to take a look at this week. And for your discussion this week, I want you to think about and discuss a challenge you've experienced in your own organization where better access to data would have made a difference. I've also seen some of your first drafts come in for individual papers and group projects. I'll get you feedback to those as soon as I can, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the discussion items, and we'll look forward to speaking with you next week. Thanks very much.